Yo, I'm lagging like crazy.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
I can't stop lagging.
Mid-season form. Gad is in mid-season form already.
I am in mid-season form. Give me a second. Sir. Jonathan, take over.
All right. Welcome to the Post-Up, brought to you by the 5 Reasons Post-Game Show. I am your interim host, Jonathan, a.k.a. Three-Piece Combo, and today I'm joined by Mr. Ari Latias of the Full Court Press, Mr. Brian himself, you know, the one who writes horror stories. Make sure you go ahead and check out his horror stories.
True.
And also Gad, who's still having some Ethernet connection. So here we are. Gonna let you guys know right off rip. Did not get to watch the first half of the game. I did get to listen to it though. It was in my pocket the whole time. And then the third quarter and the fourth quarter was what it was. But although the game was pretty good, I heard a lot of Lowry in the first half, and I mean that's what essentially stood out to me was he was just creating for everyone, no matter what happened in that game. So I'll toss it to Ariel and I'll let you talk about the game. So what were your initial breakdowns of the game that we had tonight?
Kyle Lowry, Tyler Herro. I mean, everything else, just Kyle brings an element to this offense that like the Heat haven't had in a while. They haven't maybe ever, honestly. You know, Ethan, Greg, and those guys like to make the comparison to Tim Hardaway. But I think their games are not that similar. Kyle is just so good at constantly finding guys in their perfect spots, hitting guys in stride, putting them in positions to score. He gets them the ball exactly when he needs to, and he's always looking. He's not the type of player that, you know, I mean, he had 10 assists in like 18 minutes in the first half, and he's not getting 10 assists just, you know, like he's making the pass that is the right pass, right? It's not just, you're not just making the pass just because you think you might get an assist out of it. It's always the right basketball play. And he just feels like he's in the middle of everything. If it's not, you know, the outlet pass off of a rebound that he goes out and grabs, it's a charge drawn. There's always just like, he's, you know, being a pesky defender and hounding the ball handler. Like he's in the middle of everything. And then Tyler Herro looked outstanding again. I mean, he looks more forceful. He looks stronger. He looks quicker. He looks more decisive. The jump shot looks pure. The floater we saw in the first game tonight, it was more of the step back, hitting the threes and all of that. He got to the rim and finished a couple of times with impressive finishes. So everything's been really encouraging from this team. The offense, the pace they play at, it's all super encouraging so far. Yeah,
Herro I feel like he's got a lot more lift on his jump shots. Like when he gets to his spots, he's able to get up and rise up and shoot over the defense a little bit better. And I know we talked about last season him not being able to do anything without a screen. Tonight he was doing stuff without a screen and making some nice moves. Gad, what did you see from tonight's game?
Tyler Herro is one thing that I thought was a fantastic takeaway. I know Ariel's been live tweeting Tyler Herro's breakout pretty much throughout the preseason, but I mean, he really looks fantastic. And Jonathan alluded to it. I don't know where he went. Maybe my Wi-Fi got him. I know we kind of live in the same area, but Tyler Herro looks fantastic. And it makes you wonder after 2 games of consistency, like, can this be a thing where I know Ethan's been alluding to it. You've seen people on Twitter. Can Tyler Herro really be the leading scorer on this Miami Heat team? I don't want to overreact to the preseason, but like the process of the way that he's getting to his spots looks really, really good. He's very good right now. Am I lagging?
You're straight, bro.
No, you're good. You're good. That was clear.
God.
Crystal clear.
Whew, scared me for a second.
Yeah.
Back threes. That is like if Tyler Herro can add that to his bag. Whew.
What are you laughing at? What do we miss here?
This one.
Y'all, it's late, guys. So just bear with us. I'm not reading that.
Watching this, by the way, because it is, if you're on the East Coast, as I think a few of us are, except save for Brian, it is 12:48 a.m. We're watching a preseason game on a weeknight, and we're going to be going for a little while. So you guys are some real sickos, as are we, and we appreciate you for that, because the comment section is always fun. You guys are going to be doing a fantastic job in the comments. We're going to read some of these comments tonight, maybe have a little dialogue going with the comment section. But yeah, thank you guys for showing out, because this is not easy, to say the least.
So, guys, you can take over hosting duties. I think your internet's good to go.
Oh, take over hosting. Oh, you actually, a little anecdote here. So I've been doing a lot of schoolwork today. I had 17 Microsoft Word documents open on my laptop. So I realized that was the root of the cause of the problem. So
Yeah, just
solve
potentially that
that
might cause an issue.
easy. It's like Tyler Herro. He understood he couldn't create buckets without a screen. And now he fixed the problem at the root. He's getting pull-ups. He's getting floaters. He's getting step backs. He's penetrating and he's actually kicking the ball to Dwayne Dedmon, who could not catch a single thing tonight.
Oh my goodness!
I want to touch on this. I want to talk about Dwayne Dedmon before we really get into like some more of the positives and like the what and the why as to how this is really an impressive game for us. Dwayne Dedmon in the first half looked like he was playing basketball like he was drunk, not like slightly drunk, but very drunk, like belligerent. Okay, and he was catching the ball off pick and roll, setting a fantastic tough screen. He was rolling to the basket, and it might have been the funniest thing ever. He could not catch a single pass. How does a center that literally never puts the ball on the ground or do anything, how does he have 5 turnovers?
He was shocked every time that ball came back to him. He's like, "Whoa!" Just like hits him in the chest.
I feel like his arthritis was acting him up every time he was trying to set a screen, and he just couldn't stay still. But I want to let Brian speak. Brian, before Gad takes away your spotlight and tries to take away your speaking, bro. Brian, tell me what you saw this game. I'm gonna let you speak. You have a voice here with me. I love you.
Thank you. I was gonna say no. You could have kept going on Dwayne Dedmon. I do want to add that I think he tried to murder Kevin Porter Jr. He had 6 fouls. He was content to use them all, and I respect that for a guy that's 32, almost 10 years in the league. For Dwayne Dedmon to be playing this hard in preseason, as bad or good as the results may be, that's very respectable. I feel like you guys have summed up the game pretty well. I think that I'm almost shocked by how fluid and how good this offense looks. Like if they had 60 in the first half, which for a Miami Heat team these past many years has not been the case. Like I think that typically if we see that the Heat are on pace for 120, we're like, whoa, this is a really, really good night. And at the center of that all is Kyle Lowry. And of course, Tyler Herro having an amazing night. But man, he has changed the look of this team offensively so much. And I don't know how you can't overreact to that. Like, I don't think that Kyle Lowry, I'm not saying Kyle Lowry is going to average 20 assists for the year, obviously, but I don't know how you look at Kyle Lowry having 10 assists in 18 minutes and not think that, he's going to do tremendous things for just about everybody on this team. Bam specifically. I guess we'll touch on that more when we talk about the player individually, but it was a really, really good showing for 3 quarters. The fourth quarter wasn't basketball, but it looked great.
Speaking of not basketball, and just before we fully move on from the Dwayne Dedmon thing, there was like one play where he runs up to set a screen like at the elbow, really high above the 3-point line. I don't remember if it was for Tyler or for Kyle, but he ran like as hard as he could to get to that spot, and he just didn't stop. Like he just ran right into the defender, and it was the most obvious offensive foul I've ever seen. I thought that was hilarious. Like Dedmon had a great game.
I'm telling you, man, his arthritis isn't letting him move right.
At this point, those screens, they aren't like they're beyond illegal. Like this is like a first-degree felony screen that he's setting right now because it's unreal. He's so aggressive with screens, and it's only preseason. I can't wait till playoff screens from Dedmon. That's going to be assault in the highest.
Yeah, he might have actually murdered somebody. It's going to catch a body.
Absolutely. So let's get to some positives here. Now that we kind of got Dwayne Dedmon out of the way, Jonathan, we'll go to you here. Bam Adebayo, his job has been made super easy with Kyle Lowry, and he just looks like he's ready to take another leap this year. How big that leap may be remains to be seen. What do you think we're going to see from Bam this year, given what you've seen from preseason?
I think we're just going to see a Bam that's
muted,
a
brother.
Little more like...
No, you're not. Never mind.
Am I? Oh.
No, you're good.
Cool,
you're
cool.
good.
Yeah. I think we're just going to see a Bam that's going to be able to do a lot of different things than what we saw last year. I mean, last year we saw him just do basically one thing. It was that dribble handoff, and he was working off that action. Maybe you get something from there. But now you're seeing him with Kyle Lowry being able to set him up. He's taking shots from areas that he wouldn't necessarily take shots from before, or at least not hesitate to take those shots before. Now, without hesitation, he's getting to his spots, and he's making them. And at least, he didn't make all of them tonight, but I think he was 6 of 9. He ended up with a good stat line. we're getting all we want to see from him, and we're letting him use his athleticism to show out a little bit more. Every time Kyle Lowry gets a pass, he's looking up court. If Bam is able to beat the guy that's defending him up, he's going to win that matchup all day long. And if somebody else has to rotate to cover Bam, he just put on 15 pounds of muscle, and he's going to be able to bully him in the post like he's shown that he's doing in these games as well. So I just think we're going to see a much more multifaceted Bam, and I think we're going to be surprised at the offensive output he's going to have this season.
Yeah, I mean, Bam he's ready to take that leap, and those hit-ahead passes that you mentioned from Lowry, that's going to be huge, and that kind of gets to the next point that I want to touch on with Ariel here. So there's been a discussion. I think one of the main takeaways from Heat preseason has been pace. Ariel, what have you taken away from pace? Do you see this as sustainable? And I mean, what do you think? It's pace the number, or is there a different way in terms of the way that pace is impacted? I know you guys touched on that during the spaces at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I'd mentioned that. I don't remember. I think it was Jeff Van Gundy who said on the broadcast that, like, a faster pace doesn't necessarily lead to wins. I think it's the type of thing that, like, it depends on how you implement it into your attack. So if you're the type of team that's going to play slow all the time, like the Heat were last season, you have to be tremendously efficient. You have to really execute with force and have the type of offense that, you know, you're able to really just, like, get good shots every single time. And you know you're not going to have a high possession game, so you have to be efficient. What Kyle brings to the Heat is he gives them that optionality. He loves to get in there and grab a rebound and look for that hit ahead pass. He's been looking for Bam almost every single time in that spot. And it's just a way to kind of weaponize Bam in a way that, you know, he hasn't been used as much in the first few years of his career because he hasn't had a guy like Kyle Lowry, a quarterback like Kyle Lowry, who's looking for him and putting him in those positions, who's able to just throw that outlet pass, you know, 50 feet down the court, 60 feet down the court, and hit him right in stride to where Bam doesn't even have to put the ball on the floor and he can just get to the rim and finish. And that's also where Bam's development, his physical development, is going to come into play because he looks like he's clearly in better shape. He looks like he's put on some muscle. His fitness level has improved. So I think he's going to have a huge season. As far as whether or not the pace is sustainable for the Heat, I don't think they're going to play it this fast a pace all season. It's like not an Eric Spoelstra type of offense. Now, again, Eric Spoelstra, like I said, hasn't had a point guard like Kyle Lowry to kind of quarterback it for him. So maybe we do see a more up-tempo style. It looks like there's a concentrated effort on their part to play a little bit faster, and it's yielded really good results. The offense has looked really, really good. Now, the defense and all these things are not going to be quite as tight in the preseason, so when you get into the regular season and you're going against teams that are, you know, game planning for you more specifically, and they have, you know, they've kind of bolted down everything and they're a little bit tighter with their defense, you know, maybe it looks a little bit different, but I do think they'll play at a faster pace than they have over the last few years for sure.
That's the goal. I mean, if you're able, I think the key, and you guys did touch on it during spaces, Marco specifically, shout out Marco for those halftime spaces, by the way. If you guys are on Twitter, tune into those halftime spaces because Marco's doing a fantastic job. He's on Full Court Press with us at Marco Romo _. Marco's killing it with those spaces. They're really fun to listen to. Just as a fan, I really enjoy it. But Brian, I want to go to you here. Actually, we got a dono from Christian Carduce. Deadman playing like he pre-gaming hangover time. He was playing like it was the post-game for hangover time, honestly. That dude was he was mentally, physically, spiritually just not aligned with his hands. It was very, very entertaining to watch.
One game into the preseason, and he's already burnt out.
Hey, that's Heat culture. We let it all out on the line during those practices. PJ Tucker was not lying.
That's right.
But, Brian, I want to go to you here because the first half, I believe it was 26 points from Tyler Herro and Duncan Robinson. And those two really look improved. Duncan had a possession where he took a guy off the dribble, kept him on his back, and had a finish with the right. And then Herro, I mean, you can see all the things he's doing. It looks like every single facet of his game has improved, if I'm being honest. Which of those two has impressed you the most, and which of those two are you expecting the most from this season?
I think I'm expecting the most from Herro. I think a big reason for that is obviously his role on the bench. Like I've said this before, he's going to be the guy on the bench there's going to be a lot of stretches in the game where it's just going to be he has the ball and he's not going to have to worry about deferring to anybody else. It's just go out there and get buckets. But I think the thing that impressed me the most today was his decision making in terms of like I noticed that a lot of his scores came when he had a mismatch. When he saw that he had a big on him, he was going to attack. And I don't know, man. Like I feel like having the presence of mind to realize, like, okay, I know that if I have a big on me, I can drive by him or take the step back three. He's likely not going to be able to get out on me in time to contest my shot. Really, that I think that making those changes within those margins can pay really big dividends for him. And we saw that tonight. And I'm not obviously Tyler Hero isn't going to be near 30 points a night every game, but if you're talking about an
Yes, he
extra
is.
4 point, all right, sure. Let's do Tyler Hero first dude with 30 off the bench every night. But yeah, man, even if you're talking about an extra, I don't know, 4 or 5 points, he's approaching 20 points a game, right? I mean, we're talking about Lou Williams type of production off the bench, which would be massive for this team. So I expect really big things from Tyler Hero this season.
And Brian, I want to go back to you here again. Talking about Tyler Herro, you spoke about the Lou Will comparison. Offensively, we can see there's a realistic pathway for that output being consistent and being there almost any given night. One thing that we've seen from Herro is a concerted effort on the defensive end. There's been some plays and some moments where he's actually been a positive, and it looks like he's doing a good job of making an effort on the boards and playing the passing lanes, trying to help out a little bit, and also playing decent on-ball defense. Do you think the defense is going to be something that we can expect moving forward?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a 30-year player, right? So I think that we would naturally expect him to be better defensively, but also I think a large part of that has to do with him just getting bigger and stronger and more athletic, right? I mean, last game we saw him make some really crazy athletic plays and stuff that we don't typically see from Tyler Hero. I think tonight he had 9 runs as well, if not 10. But yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we can expect Tyler Hero to be something close to at least a neutral defender, which again is a massive improvement over the past. Yeah, it's a huge win. I mean, I definitely expect him to be very consistent on both offense and defense this year.
Yeah, I mean, if Hero's able, I mean, we can see the offensive improvements. If the defense is able to be there, I mean, Ariel, if the defense is there, is Tyler Hero the front runner for Sixth Man of the Year? Because like that would be one of the bigger leaps that any of those bench guys is taking.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of never. I don't really. We'd have to wait and see, kind of, who on other teams, like who's coming off the bench and playing really well. But Hero's gonna be up there for sure if this is his role going forward, which it looks like it does. It fits him. It fits his strengths better. It puts less of a burden on him in terms of having to guard the other team's, top line wings, and it accentuates his strengths where he's just able to focus on scoring the basketball. And you're right, like he looks a lot better. Everything looks better. Like you said, like he just looks like a better player. The jump shot has looked pure. He's always been a good shooter, but the jump shot looks super pure. To me, it's more about how he's getting to his spots that's impressing me. Is he's doing it. It's like 1 or 2 dribbles, boom, pull up. 1 or 2 dribbles, he's at the rim. He looks like he's not getting bumped around as much. He does look stronger, and it seems like it's helping him. And he looks more forceful, and man, I think it's going to make a world of difference for him. I think he's going to have a huge season coming off the bench. And to Brian's point, I definitely agree that he could become a better defender. I know we like to all talk about, the measurables and the wingspan, and maybe that he, as recently last season, doesn't have the best defensive anticipation. He probably still doesn't really. But, not with those plays in the first game of the preseason notwithstanding, if Duncan was able to become a better defender last year, I still wouldn't consider Duncan a good defender, but he's not a terrible defender by any means. He improved defensively. I don't see any reason why Tyler can't do the same.
Yeah, and that's kind of the leap that we want to see. And for the measurable crowd, I mean, you look at Jimmy Butler, I'm pretty sure he has a negative or close to negative wingspan.
Really?
To height ratio. I think his wingspan's about the same height as himself, like 6'7", 6'8". You can fact check me on that. I would actually love to know the exact numbers.
I'm gonna check. I'm interested.
So go ahead and look that up. But speaking of Jimmy Butler, he made his return to the Miami Heat basketball team tonight. He was there last game. He was more as a big face coffee representative, and tonight he actually played Jonathan. Jimmy Butler put up a stat line of 9 points, 2 rebounds, 0 assists, 1 steal, 0 blocks, 0 turnovers, 0 fouls, +7 in 16 minutes. Was Jimmy Butler washed?
Yeah, hashtag trade Jimmy Butler. We've seen that this team obviously blew out whoever we played in the first game. I'm forgetting the Hawks. We blew out the Hawks without Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler comes back, and we're almost choking the game away at the end. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think we can get probably a second-round pick for him, hopefully a conditional one. But overall, yes, he's washed. I think he was kind of just outshouted by Kyle Lowry today, right? Every time I was listening to the broadcast, you heard a lot more of what Lowry was doing, and Jimmy's kind of taking that little bit of a back seat, which is kind of what we want him to do offensively. We don't want him to burn himself out. He's going to get to the free throw line, but we don't want him to, rag on his body getting 10 to 12 free throws now in the preseason or even early in the season. We want to save that for later in the season. And yeah, I think he's going to be fine. I think it's just great to have him back. And once everybody's working together, gelling together, we've seen how potent this defense can be already. Once they're locked in together, it's going to be on another level. So I'm just excited to see that.
So when you say stupidly locked in, is there any? Oh no, not stupid. Oh, never mind.
I did not say stupidly locked in. I did not say stupidly. Do not quote me on what I did not say.
Yeah. I messed that up. I was gonna go for a shtick. Couldn't get to it. I messed it up. Mentally, it is Friday, and physically, it is Friday, 1:04 a.m. So we're struggling a little bit. But it is great to have you guys here. And let's go. I want to touch on one of these comments here, Jonathan, if you want to go ahead and throw that up. It's from Julber Pajares. I hope I said that correctly. I really am not sure. I apologize if I did not. But this is a great question because this is something that typically you think starters, that has to be your 5 best players, right? So, Brian, we'll go to you here. If Herro is doing everything better, why isn't he starting? And I would imagine the player you start him over would be Duncan, at least in the regular season.
I mean, Duncan fits better in the starting lineup than Tyler Herro. I mean, when you have Tyler Herro out there, you have him out there to score, right? But if you have Kyle and Jimmy and Bam and Duncan spacing the floor, you don't really need that skill set as much. But I still am shaky on the Heat bench, right? And having a guy like Tyler Herro out there who can make up for a lot of the scoring deficiencies he's the perfect dude for that bench. Duncan Robinson, as good of a shooter as he is, he's not a shot creator. He's not a great passer. I mean, he just makes a lot more sense with the starters. And it really just comes down to that. It just comes down to fit, essentially.
Yeah. No, that's the very concise way to say it, right? Like, he's the complementary player, and the Herro is slightly more of a supplementary player where he can do more with the ball in his hands and he can create a little bit more for himself. So that brings me to my next question, Mark Momo's comment. We're going to try to get to some of the comments here. If you guys want to keep some ideas flowing, we will absolutely try to do that. Not why isn't Lowry scoring, actually the how will Oladipo fit. So, Ariel, go to you here. How, assuming he comes off the bench for the majority of the regular season whenever he plays, what is the fit alongside potentially an improved Tyler Herro with Oladipo? Like, what does that backcourt look like? What are your thoughts, your expectations for that backcourt when we see it?
It's actually a really good question because I've been thinking about that myself. Like Brian had mentioned, if you're going to poke holes in the Heat right now, the bench doesn't look great. You've got, 2 guys that you really, if we're being honest here, we put culture minutes aside, we put Max Strus in the summer league aside and all that stuff, what we hope Markieff Morris can be. There's really only 2 guys on that bench that you're genuinely comfortable with, at least in my opinion. That's Tyler Herro and Dwayne Dedmon. So Victor Oladipo definitely boosts the bench on paper. My question is, though, like, how do you utilize him? So if you're bringing Tyler off the bench because you want to put the ball in his hands a little bit more going against and with second units, isn't that kind of the way that Victor Oladipo is generally best utilized? He's a pick and roll creator who gets downhill, and that's kind of like his best offensive strength. To me, the only, I guess what it does is you get to share the ball handling load between Tyler and Victor Oladipo a little bit more so than just, Tyler having the ball in his hands as much as he has in these first 2 preseason games. Hopefully that's a good thing. I mean, look, Tyler's a really good shooter. If the jump shot is as improved as it has looked in these first couple of preseason games, and even if it isn't, like, he's always been a really good shooter, then the fit should be clean. And then again, like we talked about this, Gad, myself, and Marco talked about this on Full Court Press, where last season, Victor Oladipo shot like 40% on catch and shoot threes. So he can be effective off the ball as well and just kind of functioning as a floor spacer if Tyler Herro is doing the majority of the ball handling there. So offensively, the fit is maybe a little bit weird, but I think there are ways to make it work. Defensively, though, I mean, it gives you another guy who can probably guard up a position. You can put him on other teams' guards, scoring wings. And probably feel comfortable that he'll hold his own out there. So it puts another good defender next to Tyler Herro and just another good player that you bring off the bench. It strengthens the bench, and so I think that's how you use him.
Yeah, I'm really excited for what Oladipo could potentially bring to this team. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because I want to see him play beforehand.
Sure.
But you just think of what a healthy Victor Oladipo, it doesn't need to be all-star Victor Oladipo. If it's just healthy Victor Oladipo from last year with Tyler Herro, with Dwayne Dedmon, with a few physical, angry role-playing vets, that can be a really lethal bench. And you see this, the starters are fantastic. The fit between them is unbelievable. So you get that duo with some role-playing guys and Dedmon, that could be a really scary bench for some other teams. And in terms of the fit, because they might not out-talent most benches, but in terms of the fit, this could be a positive for the team where they haven't had a positive bench. They had it in the bubble for a little bit, but they haven't really had a positive bench in a long time, mainly because the team hasn't been that good, and mainly because, I mean, they've just had to dilute the talent pool a little bit between the starters and the bench to keep things afloat. They don't really have to do that. They can keep their top five and then keep moving forward. So I'm really excited about that. Jonathan, do you think by the end of the year, the bench is still going to be as big of a concern as it is now? Or do you think that's something that's going to like gradually improve throughout the year?
I really do think that we're going to see improvements over the year because we have a couple of young guys like Gabe Vincent and Max Strus especially that we're going to need to see a little more from. But I think as the season goes on, they're going to grow into the role. Like we've already seen Max Strus and his development in the summer league. And obviously you don't want to take too much away from that, but he's still taking the same type of looks that you want him to take, especially coming off the bench. And as far as Gabe Vincent goes, he's another player that, especially in game one, he looked really good. He was doing good defensively. He's a good 3-and-D player that can do maybe a little bit more. He can create a little bit more than maybe just an overall 3-and-D player.
He can run some pick and roll. He can run some pick and roll.
He can run a little bit. He can do a little bit of it.
Two possessions.
You know what I mean? Dare I say, at the end of the season, hopefully these guys will be a fresh of breath air. You know, I mean, these guys.
Shout out to
I see what you did there
on that one, Jonathan. That was golden. That was golden.
Yeah, whoever commented that was caught me. I didn't even realize I did it till after. But overall, I don't think it's going to be as big of a problem at the end of the season because I think also Markieff Morris, he's gonna Markieff, right?
Yeah, we wish it was Marcus. Yeah.
If we could parent trap those two,
oh my God,
this team would be unbelievable.
I think he'll hit a stride. I think he'll hit.
What stride are we talking about though? Like
a 3-4 game stretch
from
at a time. You know what I mean? Like he'll have 3 or 4 games where he'll go off and then he'll go back and be an inconsistent. But if we can just get those strides at the right time when we need it, hey, that's going to be enough. And of course, as long as Dwayne Dedmon keeps that ice on and keeps that arthritis away, we should be good to go.
What can I add on to that? Actually, there's one other thing there that I think is important is that the Heat saved their biannual exception, right? It was their biannual exception that they didn't use this past offseason. And so they still have that tool in their toolbox. Whenever player X gets bought out, if you want to go into the luxury tax, it's the type of player that makes you better. Yeah. It makes sense. I don't think that the bench is a finished product. They will add somebody by the end of the season. It'll look a little bit different, I think.
Yeah, I think the biggest question mark right now is the 4. You don't have a starting caliber 4 on the offensive end. PJ Tucker, obviously the fit that he has, and with our starting lineup, he works as the starting 4 because he's just the definition of a junkyard dog. Credit to 2K. That is PJ Tucker. His play style, everything. There's not much offense. He has a role. He knows that he sticks to it. Something I would like to see KZ Okpala try to do. But are we giggling again?
Yes.
Okay, we're giggling again.
But yeah, absolutely. Shout out to our boy Alex for keeping us laughing, bro.
We're having some fun in the private chat.
So you know what? This is the late show. Anything can happen at the night show. Travis Scott said that one time.
I can't believe you guys are here. Shout out, chat. Thank you.
In the comment section, it's popping off. So like, really, you guys are awesome. You guys are fantastic. But I do want to
$1
real quick, just yes or no question. That's all I want. Jonathan, would Tyler Herro beat Cyborg in a fight?
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely no. You gave me one word.
Wait. Which Cyborg? Not. We're talking about Chris Cyborg or Cyborg Teen Titans?
We're probably talking.
The answer is no, regardless.
It's no.
I haven't seen Tyler Herro fight.
No to Chris Cyborg. Yes, he'll beat Cyborg from Teen
Titans. Do you know how bad our bench would be if Tyler Herro fought Chris Cyborg?
We would get featured Gabe Vincent, so I would be okay with that.
At least
but
the boxing video
anywho,
from Herro would stop coming out.
Oh my god.
So we got another question here. What is the biannual exception? Ariel?
2.53 million, something like that, I believe.
I think it's more so like a general explanation as to like what.
Oh, my bad. It's an exception that you get to use every other season if you are not a luxury tax paying team, if I'm correct, something like that. It's worth about 2.5 million. It's usually like a quarter or some percentage of the mid-level exception. You can't use it in back-to-back years. The Heat didn't use it last offseason. They had it available to them this past offseason. Given that they didn't use it, it transfers over. So they can use it during the season this year. They can use it next offseason if they wish. But that's a tool they have available to them. So a lot of teams that'll have actually, no, I think let me fact check myself. I think the biannual exception is worth more than 2.5. I feel like it's 3.6. That number just popped into my head.
I think it's 3 point something.
Yeah, I think I was wrong. I think it's like somewhere around 3.5 million.
But that number at any point used, because this team is not going to add somebody, I think, before the trade deadline. If anything, it'll be after the fact or during the trade deadline. Yeah. Moving pieces around are weird because we have 5 players that have actual above minimum contracts, and then PJ Tucker, and then everybody else, and then Tyler Herro, who's on a rookie deal. So the pieces are going to be very tough to mix and move around. Hopefully this team can end up getting a offensive 4, but if not, oh well. Oh my goodness. Brian, let's go to you here from another question from Mark Momo. Why is Strus hyped up? I'm not really sure to what extent he's being hyped up. Because I mean, he's signed to be our small forward off the bench. But Brian, why is he hyped up?
I have not seen Max Strus hype from anybody. I don't know where he's saying this, but I don't. Where is his hype coming? I mean, he's going to be a fine player, but like, what kind of hype are we talking about? Like,
he's definitely fine.
Max Strus, okay. Hey, yeah, I don't exactly know what that means. Like hype in terms of like, do people think he's going to be Duncan Robinson? Or
okay, that is actually fair. That is fair because I have seen people try to make that comparison before. There is no comparison. I mean, if any of you guys want to chime in on this.
No, I mean
they're completely different players. They just shoot
Duncan Robinson is very clearly one of the top 3. I'll say top to be safe. I'd probably argue top 3 shooters in the NBA right now. So Max Strus being that would be tremendous. I think it's just faith in the Heat's developmental program. I think that they just make the comparison. They're both white shooters that are undrafted, blah, 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 whatever you want to. Yes. Yeah, I think that's where that hat comes from. And because we just saw Duncan do it, people are like, oh, well, Max Strus can, it's very, very difficult to be the caliber of shooter that Duncan Robinson is. Also, Max Strus isn't as tall as Duncan. I think that we forget that Duncan Robinson is almost 6'8".
He's 6'8", yeah.
With a 7'1" wingspan.
With a 7'1" wingspan, yeah. Max Strus is 6'4"-ish. So
6'5" with some acreage.
Yeah.
6'5" and thick.
Yeah. That's another word for it.
I think it's fair to say that Max Strus can be an approximation of Duncan, whatever percentage you want to give it, but outside of that,
just weird. It's just weird because like the movement shooting that Duncan has is virtually unmatched. This dude
absolutely
at like a 45-degree angle.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson is a very, very, very damn good player. Like, expecting Max Strus to be anything near that is probably asking a little bit too much.
Yeah, but he can be nice offensive. Like I think he's going to fill his role for this team pretty well. There's going to be nights where he's going to shoot, say like last year when he came in the fourth quarter and went 0 of 8 against the Lakers and we almost lost that game. There's going to be nights like that, and then there's going to be nights where Strus is setting the world on fire. Twitter is just spamming Strus is loose, Strus boost, all that good stuff.
Strus, did you say the Strus boost?
Yeah, the Strus boost. You got to change.
I have not heard that.
The last name here.
Oh my goodness!
It's not easy making rhymes, my brother.
By the way, I confirmed the biannual exceptions were 3.73 million, which gives you a leg up on teams that only have the veteran minimum to offer to buyout candidates because that's what 2.2 or 2.3, something like that. Also, it's only. Yeah, like I said, it's only available to teams that are over the cap, but you're under the tax apron.
Okay.
Though you can use it and go into the tax.
Okay, so that approximately would put us at about $45,000 a game per game. That would be the cap hit. So when you look at like when they could possibly add one of these players, it would probably be with about, if it was a buyout, they wouldn't be playoff. I don't think I hate to burst your bubble here, but I don't think if they're going under the tax, they won't be adding someone via biannual because they won't be playoff eligible. If they stay under the tax, they can add someone via veteran minimum and play them for the last 20 games of the year. The calculations are somewhere on my Twitter. I don't have them off the dome right now.
I haven't looked at them.
I'm wearing my 5 Reasons Sports Network hat. If you want one, you can go to the 5 Reasons Sports Network shop. Go ahead and get one for yourself. Also, a lot of new tees on there. I know Greg Sylvander had some fantastic ideas on one of those where it's keep the main thing. And there's not 3, but 4 Larry O'Briens because the Heat are trying to win number 4. So I want to get to one other question that we had here. Question from Will Joseph at approximately 1:16 a.m. Let's talk buyout. Would K-Love make sense if he's bought out to shore up the 4 and allow PJ to come off the bench? Better role for him, in my opinion. Jonathan, we'll start with you. We can go around the table here. Would you be in on Kevin Love as a buyout candidate?
Absolutely. I mean, this is another guy that can just pitch outlet passes to Bam after getting a rebound. And, I mean, he's one of the best at throwing those outlet passes. If he's healthy, he can stretch the floor. He can rebound. He can do almost everything you want a guy next to Bam can do. Sure, he's not the best defender, but, you have Lowry, you'll have Jimmy, you'll have Bam there covering for him. So, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the most seamless fits you can get and probably the best option you can get at the 4. If he gets bought out, I would go, definitely head over heels to try to go and get him. I think that fit would be great.
Ariel, yes or no?
Yes. Can I expand a little bit?
What is stopping you? It's 1:20 a.m. I got all the time in the world.
Yeah, so do I. Yes. Also, I think you may the thing is with these players. I just wanted to mention that the Heat have the biannual exception available to them. Though I agree with Gad that I think it's more likely they use it in the offseason because a lot of the time when these players, guys like Kevin Love, maybe we've heard a little bit about a guy like John Wall potentially getting bought out. He's owed a ton of money. So is Kevin Love. But if and when these buyouts happen, these players have been paid a massive sum of money more often than not to essentially walk and go to another team. And so the difference between having the biannual exception or a veteran minimum contract available to you to offer to that player is not much. So I think you probably get him on like a veteran minimum contract. And I like him off the bench, frankly. I do like the fit next to Bam, but I'm terrified of that dude, like just being able to stay healthy. So I'm bringing him off the bench. I'm using him in a tiny, like 15 to 17 minute role. And you hope that you can squeeze a little bit more out of that orange and get something out of him. But he definitely fits a need, and he would bolster the Heat's power rotation for sure.
Did you just metaphorically compare Kevin Love to an orange?
Yes, I'm starving.
Anything can happen at the night show, ladies and gentlemen. I love to see that. Brian, thoughts on Kevin Love?
Yeah, no, I love Kevin Love. I think the skill set is perfect next to Bam. He's really close friends with Westbrook. LeBron won him a championship. He's definitely Lakers bound. Also, he went to. Did he go to UCLA?
What did he do with Melo?
He did go to UCLA.
Yeah,
he was insane.
Yeah, they would figure it out. I'm pretty sure that's like as soon as he got bought out, he would be on a plane to LA.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. I honestly did not even think about that. That'll make a lot of sense, and I'm pretty sure he has a winery or whatever that thing is called over there, over in California. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So yeah, I think everyone's in on the idea of Kevin Love. The idea of Kevin Love is definitely better than the player Kevin Love right now, but that's kind of the case for a lot of the players on our team as well. So you just kind of roll with the punches there. I did want to touch on one last thing from the fourth quarter of this game was funny. It was really, really funny. And I know we're really, really tired. I do want to ask about this. Have you guys seen anything that has changed your opinion on Omer Yurtseven from the summer league? Because he looked fantastic. He was dominant. He was confident. He was out there. He was making plays all over the court on both ends during summer league. And then now it looks like he's kind of pulled the reins back a little bit. And someone in the comments said shy. And I think that's a good way to kind of say how Yurtseven is playing. Have you guys seen Omer as being shy? We'll reverse the order here. Go to Brian. Brian, what have you seen from Omer so far this preseason?
As you were saying that, yeah, he seems a little bit timid. Obviously preseason basketball is pretty decent step up from summer league, so it could just be better competition. Maybe I don't know. I mean, he wasn't going to play anyway. It could just be that he's thinking a lot. Maybe he feels that he could actually get a role, get some minutes, and he's not trying to mess up too bad. But I don't know. I mean, he played that much. I don't really expect a whole lot from him, regardless. But yeah, I guess he is playing with a bit less force than you would see in summer league.
Yeah, that a bit less force is probably the perfect way to put it. Ariel, your thoughts on Omer so far?
I agree with all that. The only thing I'm going to add there is that in the first game specifically, I didn't notice it as much tonight because I genuinely almost didn't pay attention to the fourth quarter. But in the first game,
some content.
Yeah, I'm sure. But in the first game, I had felt like he looked a little bit slow out there, and it's not something that I've noticed particularly in the summer league games. So, he does look a little bit timid, I guess, and I feel like mostly it's due to what Brian mentioned, that he's playing against better competition and he's not being utilized the same way that he was in the summer league. In the summer league, he was featured on that team, right? He was getting a ton of touches. His usage rate, if they had usage rate stats for the summer league, is probably substantially higher than it is right now in the preseason. So totally different role, whole new environment for him. He'll learn, but I don't think he'll be ready to play or significantly contribute to the Heat for a while.
Yeah, I think bringing up the role is a very important thing to note, because you look at the way the summer league team was almost built for Strus and Omer to really thrive offensively. Mm-hmm. And then you look at what the Heat do, their play style is not conducive for Omer Yurtseven's success. That's nothing against Omer. I think he's going to be fine. But like you said, it is an adjustment period to go from being a big that can just post up and get the ball virtually every single time, as opposed to being a guy who just has to screen, run handoffs, and learn how to dive to the basket at the appropriate time. There's a bit of a role change there. So, if there's going to be Eddie Omer criticism, I would really pump the brakes on that for a while, because this is a completely different play style. And even when they played in Turkey, it was a lot of post up. The Heat do not do that. They simply do not. So I wouldn't worry about it. It's good that we have him under contract, because if the Heat are able to turn something into those pick and pop, those catch and shoot skills for a big of his caliber with his physical tools, that's still going to be incredibly valuable. So don't expect production either early on or throughout this entire season, but eventually there should be some sort of ramp up. Sorry to give my whole spiel there, Jonathan. I did not want to leave you hanging there, but what are your thoughts on Omer?
Yeah, I mean, you guys already pretty much touched on it, but he's just gonna it's just gonna be an adjustment period for him, right? I mean, it's the first year coming into the league. He had a massive transformation in his body. He's probably not used to getting banged around as much as he's getting banged around now. So it's just gonna be a little bit of an adjustment, and as he learns to be, put himself in the right spot, learn where his teammates are gonna be, not have to think about everything so much, the game is gonna come to him a little bit more. The talent's already there. He can shoot the ball. He has a nice little touch. There's a lot that he can do. So. Man, I feel like he'll be fine. I feel like he'll be fine. Back to you guys.
He will be fine. He definitely will be fine. Speaking of the Heat will be fine, they ended up winning this game, and they play another game tomorrow night. Just as a bit of a programming note, this is preseason. I understand the team is playing a back-to-back tomorrow. I don't know why the NBA scheduled them for preseason back-to-back. That is sinister behavior from Adam Silver, but nothing new, I guess. The post-up will not be returning tomorrow night. I just want to put that out there right now. There probably will be a halftime spaces. I'm not sure if I don't think Marco is going to be able to host that. So if we do host one, there will be a programming update probably from the 5 on the Floor account. Just letting you guys know ahead of time. The spaces are really good when Marco does them. Can't vouch for anyone else as of right now. But any last words before we go to bed?
Man, this is literally if the Heat played Jimmy 40 minutes tonight. That's how I feel for getting a 10 p.m. Eastern time preseason start, man. I'm ready to go to bed, y'all.
You didn't like watching Steven Silas call isolation the entire first half?
I loved the first 3 quarters of that game. After that, it was
the fourth quarter was literally European handball.
There was so little talent on the. Okay, I'm not going to go there. Let's.
Hey, they're all fighting for their jobs, and power to them. I hope all these dudes make it.
Who uses a coach's challenge in the fourth quarter for preseason games?
Okay,
Oh my God.
This deserves a conversation.
No. That deserves prison time. You kept this all there for a damn coach's. What are we doing? This game doesn't matter. Who cares? Who cares?
That was unreal. And the craziest thing is, it worked. Casey Okpala was called for an offensive foul on that play. Insult to
He
injury.
doesn't get anything right.
Just nothing.
I screenshotted a picture and I posted it on Twitter with Omer literally calling for the ball in the middle of the paint, and Casey's just looking away. Like, why?
That's a roster spot, man. That is a roster spot right there.
Casey's a funny guy. He's a very funny guy.
Yeah. Comedy. I would love to watch him and Deadman do one-on-one for hours.
Oh my God.
That would be pay-per-view. I would pay money to see that. That would be very, very fun. Comedy section, though. It wouldn't be under action. But anywho, I think the conversation here has expired. So, with all that being said, there will be no post game tomorrow night. We'll be back for the next preseason game, whenever that may be. And if you don't see us until the season opener, you know why. We're load managing here. It's a long season. We got 82 games ahead. But shout out my guys, my guy Jonathan Ramakan, Ariel Atias, Brian Young. Make sure you all give them a follow on Twitter. Shout out everybody in the comments. It's 1:30, and we're still going strong in the comments right now. But thank you guys for showing out tonight. And we'll be back eventually. Don't know when. We'll figure that out. Everybody have a good night. Go Heat.